Hi guys, a couple of weeks ago we did a segment on paper pattern for the front panel of this Ferrari, and I showed you with the gauge on the back the shape that we needed it. Now there's the panel in question, but don't panic. We're going to, in a minute, we're going to go on a new blank and start and making this, and I'll explain it all the way through as promised. But before we do that, I thought it was probably better that I show you a few things on this, then you can understand what I'm doing while I'm doing the other blank. So, if you remember, we had this profile, the set in all the stations. Remember? There, and there. Okay, as you can see, it is closed. Now, it's sitting on the back. There's no play anywhere. It's sitting on the back nicely, and the only thing holding this panel on this back is that half dowel there, one half dowel. No clamps. It's tight here, and it's tight on the other side. It's tight through here, tight through there, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, in a minute, as I said before, we're going to go on the other blank. I'm going to explain a couple of more things, and then we start working on the other blank. Here's the paper pattern, and it's sitting on top of the blank, and it's held by a little bit of tape here, just a fraction of a tape here. It's also held with a little bit of tape there, and so's in the other side. But as you can see, the blank is cut fairly close to what we're trying to do. If you notice here, these are the little cuts on the paper pattern that we did with the scriber. Therefore, we mark all the lines that we need on the aluminium. Every one of them, see? They're right. I hope you can see them. They're all there. Here's our center of our radius. There's our blank cut to size there. We mark our radius over there, and on and on. Now, one little thing that I'd like to show you is this. I get the cameraman to focus on this little piece. Okay, we've got top, middle radius, and the other line. What that means is that it goes on the panel that way. But we can't put it now, can we? The blank is not even half done. So what you can do is check it this way. I have now positioned the little gauge that we're going to use, just like that. And as you can see, from the dots, we're on the money. Middle of the radius, and the other line, and of course past the edge that goes down. Now as we're working this, that's exactly what I'm going to put that pattern. You see the difference? See there's missing a lot of metal there? Can you see that? So that's what we need. This is the position that we must have, that shape, with that much shape, prior to anneal it and bend it. Remember, I said to you last time that I was going to straighten that little sample that I've made, and that's what I did. And I took this profile out of that sample. It tells me exactly how much metal I need. Okay, here's the blank. Now we put a little bit of shape in it for two reasons. I want to show you two very important issues. And that's why I've put, well, one reason was to cut a little bit of the filming out, and the second reason, because I want to show you something very fundamental when you're wheeling. So as you can see here, there's plenty of shape to go. A lot of shape to go in. And that's turned at that point. The second reason why I put some more shape in it, because you got to see this. And it's the same on the other side. See that? A long way to go. Now, this gap here, when you're wheeling, must be the same of the other side, which means that both operator must hold the panel in this position. This is the way that it's going to go onto the buck. You can't have it too far down because it will show too much shape, and I'll show you that issue in a minute. They must be fairly parallel. If they're not, you're going to end up with wheeling the panel with a twist in it, and of course when you take the twist out, it'll be hollow in the middle because you're actually going across the panel that way. Okay? You're not wheeling straight, you're going across the panel that way. And the center will never get as much stretching than the side. So that's very important when you're wheeling to hold the panel close to the shape that it needs to be. That way you put the shape in and you can actually see the shape going in. So again, I'll repeat, hold the panel and we show you when we wheel it, very close to what the shape is, both operators. And if you do it on your own, you have to try to do that. This is the small panel in question. It's just a piece of aluminium that I cut up just roughly. And as you can see, I've got somewhere near it, the edges, that's something like it. Even though it's a different shape, but the edges are going in the same way. So what's happening is when you're wheeling, and this is the shape you want, you can't just go on the wheel and wheel up this way, just like that. Because what's going to happen is the center is never going to get as much shape as the two ends here because of your motion. And if you pull down on the center, like so, to get the shape in the center, you can actually feel it. You're going to end up with a barrel. And this is not the shape you want. If it must be that round, then you need to support it, both ends here like that, and wheel to that shape. You see that? I'm holding both edges, like so. Have a look at my body motion. I'm doing this because that means that I'm maintaining that shape. If I don't and keep going like I showed you before, you're going to end up in a barrel. The next thing you must do is, and I'm going to bend this fairly quickly, you can't wheel up this way either. Here's a sample. Exaggerate it, but it'll send a message on. Look at this, and look at that. It's an exaggeration, I know, but as you can see, both edges are not the same. So if you wheel that way, it's not going to be even this either, because this panel being flatter going to show the shape you're putting in. When you come across this way and you're a lot sharper, because it's round, it won't show you the shape. So you're going to keep wheeling and keep wheeling to the point that when you straighten this up, this is going to have more shape than that. So what do? You go back there, come back, let it out. It takes too long. That's why when you wheel up a panel, and again I'll repeat it, you will see when we wheel up the blank, you must keep the panel the same. I'm keeping it this way, and the operator on the other side keeping it the same way, within reason. It's going to be hard on your wrist, hard on your neck, but that's what you must do. You cannot wheel a panel with two different sizes, two different shapes. If it's got to be that shape, one more than the other, your best bet is to open it up so they are the same, so both edges are the same. You wheel it all the way through the same, you support it, you wheel it all the way through the same, okay? But you must support it or it'll turn into a barrel. You wheel it the same, and when you get to this end, you're still the same, you're still supporting it, okay? Then you bend the shape. Now, by bending the shape as you want it, it's gonna go flatter. So I'll repeat, you wheel it the same way, both edges the same. When you bend the desired end differently, like so, you'll find that it's gonna go flatter. So what you do, you then pick up the wheel and fill that in. Fill that in because it's flatter. Remember, when you bend it, you lose the shape. So you wheel that up with lighter pressure, fill that in, back off the pressure, and blend it in. You might have to do a little bit of that and a little bit of that, but you blend it in so the shape is equal. Now I'm going to go through it again because this is very, very important. You're making a panel. You hold the panel the same way with your hands. Whether it's one person working or two person working, you hold it the same. You wheel it evenly. Then you come along and say, well, this side wants to go down further, so you bend it. By bending the sides, you'll see that it's going flatter. So you must touch that back up. You cannot have an even wheeling. Oh, it might look even, but it ain't. You cannot have even wheeling if you wheel two sides different. It just won't happen. And that's when you need to go back on it and touch it up and go back here and go back there and keep putting lumps everywhere. You have to squeeze the wheel. It just won't work. That's why I stress the point, and you'll see it. Mainly you will see it when you do that panel, that we're keeping that panel the same and we arch it the same. Then you probably see me bending it at the front, and you probably see me retouching that side, because when I bend it, as I mentioned to this panel, it goes flatter, so I'll touch it up and then we keep going. But I'll explain to you about it when we're actually doing that panel. Okay, we're now back on the panel that we're going to wheel up, and as you can see, both edges are the same, and this is the way we're going to hold them all the way through. I need to bend that a little bit, but then you see me going through it again and fill it back in. So there's the principle of just what I explained a few minutes ago with all those samples. Those samples were nothing. They were just wheeled up here and there just to be quick and show you the principle of wheeling. Okay, now we're going to go on to the tools that we're going to use, and then we're going to go on wheeling. I'm going to use, to start off with, a 24 radius low anvil, and the first thing I do, I've got a sample here. I'm going to check the pressure. Pressure is very important. Remember, do not squeeze the panel. So let me see. Too much. Okay, we're ready to go. We start from one end, there we go. All right, so what you do, obviously, when you're here, you grab it here. The minute we go past, you grab it there, yeah? Okay. All right? Okay, now, I want you to see the stand that we're taking. I'm going to take this out again and show you. Just hold it near, please. Okay, what you'll see us doing is definitely not that. Okay? You can't do that because the panel is going to be doing that. You need to take a stand where you can go all the way down with your hands open and come back. In other words, you move your legs and your back. So I'm going to show you again. That's the stand we're going to take. Okay? We're not going to do that. Okay? So that's it. Okay, and we're gonna go very slowly. And put the tracks extremely close together. Okay, Neil, change hands, put in there, and that's it, okay? Okay, there's one run. One run from when we started, and as you can see, all four corners are on the bench. It's not twisted. It's got a relatively good shape, and both of these sides, the way we hold it on the wheel, are the same. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go with a sharper wheel through here. And what you'll notice is that this edge will start to drop further. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit more here where the paper pattern has told us so. Sharp with a sharper wheel. And the edge will start to drop. What that will do, it would put a hollow in here. So the next thing we're going to do after we did this, we're going to retouch this up so that it's level again. And this is the process you must take all the way through. At one point, when this is got the right amount of shape, about to here, I'm not too worried about from here onwards because I can always touch it up later. But at one point when this is the right shape, and this is the right shape as well, I then start to bend it a little bit more with my hand, which means that by doing so, when this material is at that angle, it's going to lengthen the panel that way. And what happens? By lengthening the panel that way, it will show that it's fuller. By bringing the panel up like that, it will show that it's flatter. So, a recapture. We're going to wheel this up. It's going to get more shape that way. It's going to put a hollow in there. We're going to touch up the hollow and bring it down the same that it's now. But this edge will be further down. Let me draw it on the panel itself and explain what I'm going to do. As I just mentioned, we're going to put some more shape here where the paper tells us the middle of the radius. But what I'm going to do first with a sharper wheel, and this is possibly the wheel I'm going to use, a much sharper wheel, I'm going to draw where we're going to over wheel, if you call it, in this area here. I'm going to draw it. Okay, we're going to pre-wheel here first, and then very slowly, and I'll draw it in a different way, we're going to wheel out there, and out there. Then we're going to wheel it out there, and out there, and then of course all the way through. But this is the area that we're going to concentrate on. This will make the edge going down. Okay, you only need the edge down from about here, about there to there. Because if you remember, this needs to stay open because there's some wheeling to be done there to achieve that particular shape that it's got in there, and you can only achieve that when it's open. That will close when we turn this. It'll go around like that edge will when we close this. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to wheel up the center first a little bit, and then we're going to blend it in all the way so this has got a start. And then of course we're going to blend it in there because that's where the hollow is going to be. But you'll notice, and I want you to take note of it, you'll notice that this edge will drop further. And of course it'll be around. Now, the temptation would be, and that's a temptation would be, to shrink it here. If you shrink it there, it's going to go down a lot quicker, but it's going to flatten that out. Okay? And when it does, it's going to interfere with all of that panel. Because this has not been flattened out, but this has. And that's when you start getting very uneven wheeling, it starts to flop, and it's the beginning of a disaster. So don't shrink it there. Get that shape going by putting the shape into here. Keep wheeling and keep blending, keep wheeling, keep blending until, as I said before, this is the shape of the buck. And then of course we put on the buck too. Because as you can see, we've got a long way to go. But don't shrink it there to achieve that shape, whatever you do. Okay. There's going to be a time where I realize that wheeling and wheeling will take too long. And realistically, I want some metal there. So I'm going to do some blocking there, which will improve that shape. And then we work accordingly. So just follow what I'm doing, and I'll explain. I'll try to explain each step so you can understand what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to do some more wheeling now. Now I'm going to change the wheel over. And we're going to do exactly what I explained. Okay, wheel, just hang on. Okay, we hold it at that, come down, put your hand down a little bit, that's it. Straight, okay, let's do some wheeling there. Now as you come down, just make sure that the gap between the, in other words, you don't want to have that, yeah? You have this gap the same. Keep going there, now come up with your hands, that's it. Come up with your hands, a little bit more there. Now a little bit longer. Now drop your hands a little bit, come back here, correct, that's it. Drop your hands again, a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. Come back up, lift your hands up, that's it. A little bit longer, little bit longer, little bit longer, all the way. All the way. Now drop your hands a little bit and all the way through there. Little bit more there, Neil. Right there. Okay, longer. Little bit more there. Lift up your hands, come up here, yes. Little bit longer, little bit longer, little bit longer, all the way. Slowly does it. Drop your hand. Okay. Okay, so what I'm doing here now, I'm bringing the edge back up where it was. By doing so, the panel, as you can see, is bending down. Because remember, we wheeled up here, the edges dropped, which meant that the panel went that way. By going that way, it gets fuller. I don't want that. I want the edge the same. So what I do, I just bend it back where it was. You can see what I'm doing with my fingers. and it must be all the same, and as you can see the panel is bending, yeah? So, just do a bit of manipulation, bring this panel back. That's the same angle that it was before, but have a look what happened. We have not touched the back of it, and have a look at that. We pre-wheeled and then the edges drop, we now straighten the edge. Have a look how much more shape it's got with very little wheeling. And that's what we must have. Because what happens is, when this is finished, and it's like that all the way, it's very important to know that once you anneal this panel and start to bend it, it's going to open back up and obviously get fuller. Well, you disregard that, because when this part of the panel, which is the flange, goes underneath and it becomes the same plane of that, it'll go back to normal. So, if I grab the pair of pliers now and start bending now, the panel's going to go that way. But it's not ready yet. So when I've got the panel the right shape through here, all the way through, I'll anneal it, start to bend it. Yes, the panel will start to straighten. I'll disregard that, and I'll bend it down, bend it down, bend it down. And again, once I got this part of the panel back home down there, and it's the same of the top, it will go back the way that you started. And of course, as I would thought, there's a hollow here now. That has just dragged the shape out. So now what we're going to do, we're going to touch back up, touch this area back up, so that's the same again. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to use the same wheel, but obviously we're going to back the pressure right off. You can't use the same pressure, you'll destroy the panel. So we got the same wheel that we use at the front, but I'm going to back the pressure off. So let's have a look, Neil. Let me feel it. Yeah, that's it. We're just going to wheel in there and get that hollow back out. There, oh, too loose. Okay, I'll just hold it like that, same. Just run through there, just a little bit. We're just going to fill that back up. A little bit longer. A little bit longer. Don't bend it down as much, Neil. Just rest it, don't pull it down as much. Just have it, that's it, like that. Yeah, just it. Okay. Now, believe it or not, I could actually feel the hollow in there. So as you saw me coming up a little bit more, because I could feel the hollow there. So now we go back on the bench and we'll check it. Okay, I just felt it, and unfortunately it's still hollow there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and wheel this way a little bit with a flatter wheel and very slightly pull down, just on this area here. So now I'm going to change the wheel, obviously. So I'll pull this wheel off and I'll pull this wheel on. Now you notice that this wheel has got a yellow mark on it. Now this wheel is exactly the same as that, but I've taken the corners off. I just literally machined that corner down and that corner down. I didn't touch the top, just there. That'll allow me to go sideways, because the panel, remember, the panel is this way. And chances are that if the panel flicks a bit, you're going to pull lines if these wheels are not down. If these edges are not down. So this wheel is designed to do exactly that. The panel is now like this, and I'm gonna go in like that. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Whoop, wrong way. So, what I'm now going to do, you can see what's going to happen if I got sharp edges. Okay, so I'm going to hold it, look. I'm going to hold it that way, and I'm literally going to go in this way. If you look at it, I am trying to keep all these edges the same. Remember we spoke about the panel before? Look, I'm pulling down. But ever look the way I stand on the damn thing. I want the panel to do what I want it to do, which shows that it's got nothing to do with pressure. It's got a lot to do with how you hold the panel, where you want the shape. Now, I'm going to stop, release the handle, come back on this way. And again, my chest underneath there, my arm there, and I'm going to do this way. Now, the reason why I've taken those sharp corners off this wheel is for this reason, because it's very easy, extremely easy to put lines in it when you're wheeling this way. Now I'm going to come away. Notice I take my chest out there, but my hands are still the same. I'm coming down and blend all that in. Short and long, 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 and on and on and on and on. All I'm after now is to get that hollow out. Nothing else. As you can see now, the hollow is out, and yet the panel's still looking like we started. It's not flopping. It's not misbehaving. All four corners are touching the bench. Now that I've got the hollow out that way, we're going to keep wheeling this way. Now that we're about to wheel the other way, I'm going to take all those marks off, a bit of metho, and I'm going to wash the panel to make sure there's no residue in there. So I'm taking that off. Clean it all the way through, inside and out. Gonna turn it inside out here and clean that up as well. Notice the panel's not doing anything stupid, not twisting on me, not misbehaving, and that will help your wheeling. It will help you to see exactly what you're doing. I mean, a little bit of twist, it doesn't matter, a little bit, provided it doesn't buck, because when it bucks, you're in trouble. Okay, so here we go. We're going to wheel it again all the way through. I'm back on the original wheel now. Test the pressure. Okay, that's good. All right, we're back again to normal wheeling. And of course, we must be parallel to each other and open the panel. Just a minute, Neil, I got it the wrong way. Okay. There is not that much pressure on this wheel. You don't need the pressure. You need to handle it. Okay, the reason, hold it there, the reason I'm back in the middle is because I can feel it. I can feel the twist in it. And it tells me that the middle is still hollow. So that's what you saw me going back in the middle and slightly pull down. Now that's what I mean about feel. Don't go and squeeze the wheel. It's not going to do anything for you. It's going to work against you. I felt the twitch on the panel, and immediately I know there is an area where it's flat. So you saw me asking Neil to go back in the middle, and look, no twist in it. Now we're going to go back and go to the front. Okay. Again, as you can see, the panel not doing anything stupid. I can put it on the ground. I can lift it like that. Little bit of twist there, but that's not big, but look at it. Okay? Now back on the bench, and let's check what we got. All four corners again touching the ground. These are relatively the same. A little bit doesn't matter as long as you're not too far, and we're going to check the shape. Okay, as you can see, there's a long way to go. Now the idea is this. You might say, well, that's going to take forever. Well, it doesn't, because if you start squeezing now in order to get the shape a lot quicker, you're going to get in big trouble, because if you squeeze too hard and you miss something, you miss a run or you miss a spot, it's going to be very hard to then pick it up, because you've grown the metal so much, and whatever you miss, you ain't going to get it. It'll always be that low. So the idea would be to increase the pressure a little bit at a time, but I mean a touch at a time, and keep going till you get the shape you want. Having said that, at one point, you'll see me going on the back to literally check how much more I got to bend it, because I might have to push it that way to see what happens, yeah? And the buck will tell me where it needs the shape. But it's too early yet. Anybody can see that it ain't going to fit the buck because it's too flat. Okay, now we're going to go back on the wheel, and as I mentioned before, we're going to squeeze a little bit more. Not too much, a little bit more. So grab the panel, Neil. Let's put it in as we had it before, okay? That's the same pressure we did a minute ago. Now I'm gonna just tighten it up a touch more. Just a touch more, not too much, okay? We do the same thing. Keep it open, Neil, and that's it. Okay. Okay. Make sure they parallel. This one here is slightly that way, so I'm just going to bend it back. Here we go. Can you see the panel? No twist, and yet we'll have more shape. Put it back on the bench. Okay, now that's enough for this segment. I'm sure you don't want to see me wheeling forever, you'll fall asleep. On the next segment, we're going to do some more wheeling, put it on the back, find out where those edges want to be, and work accordingly. See you next time.